Hello YouTube, welcome back to the garage and part 4 of our Vespa Smallframe rebuild. Before we kick off, if you're new or just visiting again, please subscribe if you haven't done so. It does help the channel, it costs nothing, and without it the channel cannot grow. So please, if you can, hit that subscribe button and stick with us. So, as usual, the action is all on the bench, so let's get a look at it. Right, here we are back on the bench, and we have a selection of new parts. We have a gasket set, should have everything that I need, a variety of O-rings, some clutch plates, some main engine seals, a couple of lock washers and some plain plates. So the first job is to fit our crank seal. Now it should push in. I'm going to put a little bit of grease around it, if I can find my grease. Now I know some people like to put a small smear of gasket sealant around these as well. These cases are in good condition, no marking, nothing, so I think we'll get away with just grease. So that goes in there as a spring facing towards you. It should push in. Oh my word, it should push in. Right, I'm going to find something to drift that in a little bit more with. We have a seal driver, perfect. Just to take that edge down. That's nice and flush. Just double check. Yep. So we have to line it up with the hole again. Big gap. There we go. Like so. Fairly tight, isn't it? Mind you, it's tight coming out. You can tell when you got it through. Let me get a piece of wood. You can tell when you got it through because there's a circlip on the other side, of course. Let me find something to tap that with. Can that work? Yes. Now that will sound very, very loud, because it always does on camera. Okay. Here's our clip. Yes. So then we have to fit our ring in there, which involves our rather feeble split ring. Our feeble pliers. Right. It's on. So now it needs a very gentle push into the clip. Right. Let's try it from a different angle. There we go. Easier when it tips back. Right, just check that's in. And then I'll try and move it round which it is. Lovely. Right, well, while we're at the seal angle, in here is a rubber seal from Kickstart. So I use our little pointy pick. Oh, that's old and hard. So that wasn't changed, because that was really, really quite hard. Right, so in our little bag of goodies, again just a little dab of grease on it to encourage it into place. And then squeeze it in. There. It's slightly fiddlier than I expected, but there you go, it's in. Right, so that's on, that's on. Should we put the Kickstart spring in? Put the Kickstart in there through our new rubber seal. And then that has to fit in there. And the whole lot has to be sprung round and fitted in the hole at the bottom. Let's try it the other way around then, shall we? Right, this is being a bit fiddly, as is always the way. It doesn't want to go in. So it shouldn't be this difficult. To be honest, it should be fairly straightforward. But for some reason today, maybe I'm just having a bad day. Who knows? Normally that twists relatively easily into place. Oh, there we go. I just want to get a decent enough grip of it. Well, I say there you go. There you go in principle. Right. Talk about making things hard for yourself. Right, it is in. Just need a further twist. Good. Because that was really starting to irritate me. Right, okay. So, we have our dishwasher, our spring, our Kickstart ratchet, which has to fit between the teeth of our Kickstart. I think part of the problem is I'm doing this at an angle to show you, whereas in reality it's much easier if you do it like that, but then I don't think you'll see anything. Can you see that? Let me just check. Yeah, you can still see it. I'm panicking. I didn't think you'd be able to see. Right, so our Kickstart ratchet has got to go on that shaft and it's got to fit in between the teeth. So I've got to move that. Right, so that drops down like that in between the teeth and then I release it and it gets trapped behind there, finally. Right, so now our gearbox. I cable tied them together, as you know, but before we go any further on that, just in case anyone didn't. Right, so we've got our flat face up against there, and then our other gears go on next. Would help if you put one the right way round. Like so. Let's check that against that. Yep. Everything lines up as it should. And then you put your spacer in and then your circlip. Now I'm going to do this on the bench because it's easier to have it in the vice like that for me to put that in, because my circlip pliers are the wrong ones, not big enough. So I'll be back in a second once I've fitted that. Right, there we are, all ready to go. So with your selector out, that's now got to pass through the bearing at the back here. Now, just double check that's still okay. Which it is, everything lines up properly, yep. So our back plate holds on, holds that bearing in place. I've already fitted the gasket and greased it. I've fitted a new seal with the open end of the seal facing towards the bearing, and our slightly squeaky brake has been resolved by an application of rubber grease on the 2 rubber seals, 2 on this one. I think there's only 1 on other small frames, but this is a PK backplate. So that should, I'm going to get my orientation right. There. Should fit on there. 3 lock washers, 3 nuts. $13mm socket. Right, so that should stop the bearing wanting to come out as we put our gearbox in. So again, just doing this so you can see it, there are 2 pivoting pegs there. Our selector is all the way out, so as we insert that in the hole, in theory, we should be able to line up our little pegs in the slot. Yep, that's them. Right. So now we've got to drive our gearbox in. We can't hit that, or you shouldn't hit that. I mean, you could, but you shouldn't. Because that sits in a bearing on the other case. So you need a socket which will go over there and sit on that part of the gear. And then we tap it in. Well, tap it in. I say tap, it's likely to be very tight. That's the off and on, so we shall give it a go. Again, difficult to film this, brace it and do it. We're nearly in. Yep, all seems to be moving in the right way. We're getting there. You can actually see the shoulder of the shaft inside the cavity where the clutch goes, which gives you a very good idea of how well things are going. And I think that's going pretty well. Let me shine some light on the issue. Can't see now because it's gone down too far. Okay, nearly there. Pretty certain that is it. Yeah, that looks good. All the gears line up perfectly. Good. That's it in. Right. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. It's irritating me today, this. And it's never good to keep going when things are not going well and things have been needlessly awkward. But anyway, Kickstart's in, Kickstart mechanisms in, Christmas trees in, gearbox is assembled and in, all the gears line up properly. So when I've had my cup of tea, we can bolt the two case halves together. Because I can't think of anything else. Right, tea time. Right, suitably refreshed. Need to put a crank in. And I need to just put a little bit of grease on the lip of the seal, just to ease our passage. And it should just push through, which it does. Good. Here we go. Lovely jubbly. Right, then our case halves. Now, our gasket. Again, I'm just going to grease everything because these halves are in good condition. There's no marking on any of the gasket faces. Yeah, no, nothing untoward. If they'd been marked, I might be tempted to use gasket cement, but they're not, so we'll stick with the paper. Right, stick that on. Great fit. It's sticky over the studs. It's alright. It'll do. Right, put the grease in the other half. The Christmas tree has got to come back out because it needs to fit in its bearing. We'll give that a little bit of grease just to hold it. It needs to fit in its bearing in order to get the case, or at least I find this is the best way to do it. Who knows, or maybe other ways, I'm not sure. But this is the way I like to do it. And then, if we're lucky, and the way today's going, I won't bank on it. It should all slide together. And it's not. Right, this has been really awkward, like everything else today. But I fitted a kickstart pedal to give myself a bit more leverage. And with it down, there was enough movement to get everything meshed, and the cases are now together. So we need to stick in a couple of bolts just to hold it and then work our way around the perimeter, fitting all our other nuts and bolts. So the ones in the middle, the ones around the outside. I'm not going to show you that because it's exactly the same as when we took it apart. Just a simple reversal. So I'll just quickly get them done and then we can move on. Thank goodness. Right. Bring you back in a minute. Right, all the case screws are in. Everything's tight. So we have our seal for this side. Which again should in theory be a push fit. Once again, spring going in towards the crank. Well, let me just wipe the grease off my hands because this is going to be tight again. Oh my word, I can't do that. Right, okay, I'm going to have to find a socket or something similar. This will do. This is a Vespa PX flywheel bearing tool. Lovely, right. Yep, crank's free. Good. Move some of this mess out of the way. Now, I think the final thing for this video will be to fit the crank drive sprocket. Which goes on there. So we need our big gap again. And then we'll do the clutch and other bits in the next video. I'll take that off again to do the clutch because you get more room. And it's only 3 bolts holding on. So we need to do this. So we need our cog. And we need a woodruff key, which will drive our cog. And come on. There. Right. Slight wiggle, but there you go. I thought I got it right way around. So we need a new lock washer, which I have purchased. So our lock washer has a cutout in it, which goes in that groove, and then our nut. Do it, won't it? Right, so the crank is a bolt to take the weight, rubber to prevent damage to the eye like before. And then we need whatever size socket that is. A 19. This tight. Right. I think that's tight enough. So we need to get a screwdriver behind the lock washer to knock it down. Easier said than done. There we go. Right. That is going nowhere. Okay. That's enough for today's struggle. Life has not been easy today with this. But the bottom end's built. We'll do the clutch next time. We'll put the top end on next time. And we'll talk about the stator. Because I have a decision from the person who owns this. Now that we know everything else is alright. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And hopefully the rest of it won't fight me all the way like this has today. There we are.